Look at this situation. Boston, seeing some violence this weekend after Antifa protesters gathered to counter an anti-vaccine and anti-mask protest. Police in riot gear responded, breaking up the violence and arresting 2 people. And crime is surging in San Francisco, California. The Chronicle there is under fire for this tweet, asking readers if people there should start to tolerate burglaries as part of city living. On Twitter, the reaction was harsh. One user tweeted, "How is the Chronicle seriously asking if residents should tolerate being burglared and part of everyday living?" Another, "Tolerate burglaries as a part of city living?" Actual words printed in an actual major newspaper. Jason Rantz, Seattle radio talk show host and Fox News contributor in Focus Now. Welcome to the Fox family. Jason, first of all, why should people tolerate being burglarized? Which, by the way, can be a gateway crime to I could have a gun and keep you from moving while I steal your stuff.
Yeah, is that the pitch now to live in big cities, that you'll have to put up with routine burglaries and maybe drugstores that are ransacked all the time, and not to mention all the other stuff like the violent crime that we're supposed to blame on COVID? It is fascinating to me, the amount of narrative that is being spun here. Democratic policies are to blame. They keep prolific offenders out of jail. They get endless chances. And if they don't stop their behavior, bam, all of a sudden we just throw money at some social program and some nonprofit that supposedly addresses these root problems or root causes of this issue, and they do none of that. And rather than just place the blame on these policies, what do we get? We get media members, we get activists who pretend this is all normal parts of the city. This is what happens when you move to big cities. But it's not. Ask anyone who's lived in San Francisco or Seattle, New York, Minneapolis, any of these cities for at least the last decade, and ask them if anything has changed. They will all tell you things have changed dramatically, and there's a reason for that we're completely ignoring.
Well, one of the world's largest investment firms will reportedly need permission to hire white men now. This directive by State Street Global Advisors is reportedly part of the company's new diversity hiring initiative. State Street's head of inclusion of diversity says all of our leaders have to demonstrate at their annual appraisals what they have done to improve female representation and the number of colleagues from ethnic minority backgrounds. Your take.
Well, first, if State Street Global Advisors handles your investments, this is probably reason enough to move to a different firm, because they're not focused on you. They're focused on virtue signaling, and virtue signaling doesn't actually help your retirement fund. But ultimately, what this becomes is tokenizing people. This is tokenizing people, and people should reconsider applying here. You might get extra points if you're Latino or female or gay or Muslim or whatever. But the question then becomes, do you want the job because of that? Presumably, you have me on this show not because I'm gay or because I'm Jewish. In fact, we almost never talk about those subjects whatsoever on this show. You're doing it because you presumably you believe I add something of value here. And if we can't just flatly say we're going to hire people who add value to our company, and instead we're going to focus on an identity. What these businesses are doing, they are defining you by an identity and not by your skill set. And that is condescending. And none of us should put up with that.
That is tremendous what you just said. Because if their goal is to keep out white men, there are other ways in which we are diverse. Our points of view, all sorts of things. Jason Rantz really driving it home. Thank you for being in focus.
Thank you.
Democrats